Governor State University hosted its annual open market craft fair as the spring semester was in full swing on campus. The event ran on April 15th and 16th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Hall of Governors. Over the course of 2 days, the fair was home to more than a dozen different makers and crafters showing off and selling their works. From jewelry to plushies, a plethora of creative goods were on sale for community members and students to browse. The fair was a good chance for local crafters to not just sell their goods, but also to interact with their community as well and spread the word about their work. Students and faculty sifted through the fairgrounds throughout both days, and the event drew a respectable crowd of visitors too. The open market was overall a positive event that allowed locals to showcase their creative drive while also providing a place for students to take a break and mingle between classes. While information regarding next year's fair hasn't been released yet, it is expected that the campus tradition will continue for the next school year. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
As of Friday, May 9th, the United States has now surpassed 1,000 measles cases this year, which is the highest number since 2019. The CDC confirms 1,001 cases across 31 jurisdictions, with Texas reporting 709 cases alone. The outbreak is centered in a Mennonite community and has spread to nearby states including New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Health officials are racing to contain the virus and are urging unvaccinated individuals to be vaccinated as soon as possible. Measles is highly contagious and can be very dangerous, especially for children. Several schools and community centers in affected areas have temporarily been closed. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
As measles outbreaks continue to sweep the nation, the virus has made its way to Illinois. As of May 6th, 6 cases have been confirmed in the land of Lincoln. Over half of all states in the United States have reported at least one case of measles. What began as an outbreak in Texas has spread to at least 27 other states. 2025 alone has had more than twice as many measles cases reported than the last 5 years combined. 2024 saw 285 cases of measles, and before that, 2023 only had 59 reported cases. In 2025, there have been over 1,000 cases so far, including at least 3 deaths, and that is before the year is even half over. While case numbers are beginning to plateau, the number is still rising, and another surge of cases is possible once school resumes in the fall. Despite being the site of the largest outbreak of measles since the 2000s, and the state where 2 of the 3 measles-related deaths occurred, Texas lawmakers are trying to pass a bill that would make it easier for children to attend school without standard vaccinations. This push by the anti-vax movement to reduce access to vaccines, partially spearheaded by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is directly responsible for these outbreaks and deaths. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
On Thursday, May 1st, hundreds of people gathered to protest before Donald Trump gave a speech at the University of Alabama. Many of the protesters were students, along with local leaders and community members. They said Trump's views and actions were too divisive and did not reflect the values of the university. The protest was peaceful, with people holding signs and giving speeches about unity and respect. Some students even walked out during Trump's speech to show they did not support his message or presence at their graduation. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
Since his confirmation as Secretary of Defense on January 25th, Pete Hegseth and his department have been involved in at least 2 high-profile information leaks regarding ongoing military operations. Both of these leaks occurred in group chats that Hegseth was a part of on the messaging app Signal. On March 24th, Jeffrey Goldberg published an article detailing how he was accidentally included in a group chat including Hegseth and other high-ranking national security members, including Vice President J.D. Vance. Goldberg was added by Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor. Plans regarding an upcoming airstrike in Yemen, including locations, targets, and timelines, were sent in this chat, including information sent directly by Hegseth himself. On April 20th, it was revealed that these plans were shared in yet another group chat, this one created by Hegseth and included his wife, his brother, his lawyer, and almost a dozen other people from his personal circle. Hegseth's wife, Jennifer, is not a member of the Department of Defense, and while his brother and lawyer are employed at the Pentagon, their roles do not necessitate them having information on military strikes. It was also revealed that Hegseth was accessing these chat rooms from his personal phone, and not his secure government-issued phone. Each of these instances on their own is an extreme breach of national security, but all three occurring in tandem is unprecedented. Hegseth, who spent most of his recent professional career as a political pundit and Fox News anchor, has a history of alcohol abuse, has been credibly accused of sexual assault, and also believes that women should not serve in combat roles, was highly criticized before his confirmation, with many government officials questioning if he could competently lead the Department of Defense. Those concerns remain well-founded, as a controversy this large has already taken place under his watch only 3 months into his tenure. On May 1st, Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong were removed from the National Security Council. At the time of reporting, that so far has been the only disciplinary action to take place in regards to the leaks. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
Walmart is warning shoppers to brace for higher prices. The retail giant says inflation and new tariffs could push up costs across a wide range of items. CEO Doug McMillon says persistent inflation continues to impact grocery staples like eggs and dairy, though some relief may come in 2025. But prices for packaged and processed foods are expected to stay high. To offset rising costs, Walmart is boosting its Walmart Plus membership program, which offers perks like free delivery. Walmart CFO says the company is doing everything it can to keep prices low, but warns that in today's economic climate, some increases may be unavoidable. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issues its forecast for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season and is shaping up to be a very active one. They predict 13 to 19 named storms this year. Of those, 6 to 10 are expected to be hurricanes. Even more concerning, 3 to 5 could intensify into major hurricanes, reaching Category 3 strength or higher. Forecasters point to warmer ocean waters and climate patterns that favor storm development. With the season starting June 1st, officials are urging people in hurricane-prone areas to get prepared early. It only takes one storm to cause serious damage. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News. On Thursday, May 22nd, a devastating plane crash shook a quiet San Diego neighborhood. A small private jet went down around 3:45 a.m., crashing directly into a row of homes. Officials say the aircraft, a Citation II business jet, ignited a massive fire that damaged at least 15 homes and several vehicles. Multiple fatalities have been confirmed, all believed to be passengers on board. At least 8 people on the ground were injured, and several pets had to be rescued from the area. Dense fog and low visibility at the time of the crash may have been a contributing factor. The FAA and the NTSB are leading the investigation into what caused the jet to go down. Emergency crews responded quickly, containing the fire and evacuating residents. The neighborhood remains blocked off as recovery and cleanup efforts continue. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News. On Friday, April 11th, is National Pet Day. This day was founded in 2006 by animal welfare advocate Colleen Page as a way to celebrate the joy, companionship, and unconditional love that pets bring into our lives. But it's also a time to raise awareness about the many animals in shelters that are still waiting for a forever home. Whether you're a proud cat parent, dog lover, bird enthusiast, or reptile fan, National Pet Day is all about honoring those loyal companions who brighten our days and lift our spirits. So whether it's an extra treat or a long walk, National Pet Day is the perfect chance to show your pet just how much they mean to you. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
On April 21st, Pope Francis died after suffering a stroke and subsequent cardiac arrest. He was 88 years old. His death follows an over 1 month-long stay at the hospital for respiratory issues that began in February. Francis had been discharged at the end of March. On Easter Sunday, the day prior to his death, he met with Vice President J.D. Vance, as well as making a public appearance for what would be his final blessing. In his final address to the public, the former pope made pleas for peace worldwide, calling specific attention to the genocide in Gaza as well as the war in Ukraine. He also called for love and acceptance of migrants, the vulnerable, and the marginalized. Francis served as pope for 12 years since his election in 2013 and was the first pope of Latin American descent. A conclave to elect the next pope began on May 7th. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor. On May 8th, white smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel to indicate that a new pope had been chosen, as the Vatican announced that Cardinal Robert Prevost had been elected as the new leader of the Catholic Church. Prevost, going by the papal name Leo XIV, is the first American-born person to hold the position. The conclave began the election process on May 7th, just weeks after Pope Francis's passing. By the following day, Prevost was named as the successor to Francis. Shortly afterward, he gave his first public address as the Pope from St. Peter's Basilica, addressing the crowd in Italian and Spanish, echoing his predecessor with calls for international peace. Prevost was born in Chicago and spent much of his life in Peru, where he is also a citizen, and served as cardinal. Many were surprised that an American was elected pope. Given America's worldwide influence, some in the Vatican have shown concern in regards to giving even more power to Western voices. However, according to some analysts, Prevost's time in South America likely quelled these fears during the election. Pope Leo XIV's first Mass was held on May 18th in the Vatican. Following the Mass, he met with multiple world leaders as the new pope takes his first steps as an international voice. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
As of Friday, May 9th, Gaza is in the grip of a deepening crisis as Israel's siege stretches into a second week. Intense airstrikes and a total blockade have left millions without food, water, electricity, or Medicare. Hospitals are overwhelmed and aid agencies warn of an imminent collapse of basic services. The United Nations and humanitarian groups are calling for an immediate ceasefire and the opening of humanitarian corridors. They stress that civilians must be protected under international law. Israel says its operations target Hamas fighters and infrastructure following a spike in rocket attacks. But with mounting civilian casualties and entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble, pressure is growing for de-escalation. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
Donald Trump is once again at the center of another unprecedented and concerning controversy as his administration is set to accept a $400 million luxury jet from the Qatari government. While the transaction is not yet finalized, the government officially accepted the Boeing 747-8 on May 21st. Despite claiming that the jet is a gift to the Department of Defense and not himself, Trump plans on decommissioning the jet after his presidency for his as-of-yet unbuilt presidential library. This act is unconstitutional, prohibited by the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, which forbids any person holding office from accepting presents of any kind whatsoever from any foreign leader or state without congressional consent. Accepting the jet isn't just an unconstitutional conflict of interest, though. It is also a national security concern and invites the probability of foreign influence. On top of that, if the jet were to end up in this administration's hands, it would take years and hundreds of millions of dollars more to convert the jet into an executive vehicle, like the current Air Force One fleet, all which have state-of-the-art communications and security capabilities. Boeing already has contracts totaling almost $4 billion in place to replace the current presidential planes, which have been in use since the 90s. Accepting this jet from Qatar would not advance the timeline in which the replacements for Air Force One are ready, and would likely distract from those efforts. In the event that the jet did get converted, if Trump were to have his way, it would be decommissioned as soon as he left office, wasting millions in taxpayer dollars for no benefit to the public or government. Accepting this jet is nothing short of corruption and would not benefit the American people in any way. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
As of Thursday, May 15th, global oil prices have dropped by 3%, reaching their lowest level since June of 2023. Brent crude closed at $82.63 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate settled at $80.13. The decline is being attributed to a stronger U.S. dollar and rising hopes for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict, which would ease concerns over potential disruptions in the Middle East oil supply. Markets are also responding to signs of weaker demand from China and continued uncertainty about the Federal Reserve's next moves on interest rates. If the downward trend holds, analysts say Americans could see a slight drop in gas prices by early June. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
Welcome to Hollywood Buzz, your source for the latest in the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Graham Taylor, and today we'll be looking at upcoming releases, celebrity news, and the latest from Hollywood. Let's get started. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the last installment in the long-running action series starring Tom Cruise, saw the series' biggest opening day, bringing in almost $25 million. The film received mostly positive reviews as the explosive finale for the franchise, but it wasn't the biggest movie at the box office Memorial Day weekend. Lilo and Stitch, the live-action remake of the animated Disney classic, opened alongside Mission Impossible, but brought in over $300 million during the holiday. Despite the impressive numbers, critics were less thrilled with the film, which was overall met with lukewarm reception, averaging only a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. Piano Man and singer-songwriter Billy Joel recently canceled the remainder of his summer tour after being diagnosed with a rare brain condition due to a buildup of fluid. While his condition is treatable, it affects his coordination and motor skills and will take time before he recovers, though he is hoping to make his way back to the stage one day. 8 months after his arrest, the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Combs, known as Diddy, is finally underway. His ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, federal agents, and former personal assistants have all taken the stand against Combs so far, alleging that he has a history of violence and depravity, with one assistant even claiming she feared for her life multiple times while working for him. The trial began on May 12th and is still ongoing. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. For GovState News, this has been Graham Taylor with the latest Hollywood buzz.
May 20th, 2025, the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum debuted a new exhibition, Dolly Parton: Journey of a Seeker. This exhibit displays the legend's clothes, instruments, photos, and handwritten lyrics. The 79-year-old was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1999, and this honorary showcase focuses on Parton's 60-plus year career, where she ignored naysayers and became one of the most recognized celebrities in the world. On Monday, Parton made a special appearance at the exhibit honoring her and her journey.
I just think it's wonderful that I have been able to see my little girl dreams come true. It's a long ways from the top of the Smoky Mountains to the top of the world, and thanks to you and all the fans and the people that have helped me along the way.
The Dolly Parton Journey of a Seeker experience will be open and included with museum admission until September 2026. This is Annalia Vey with GovState News.
Why are you dressed like you're in a boy band?
Seriously? My Super NES commercial from the 90s with my long black duster, indie rocked hair, and beaded necklace?
Welcome to Game On. I'm Noel Tremere with GovState News, bringing you the latest news on current and upcoming video games. Let's get started. It's been 8 years since the original Nintendo Switch was released worldwide, and on January 16th, Nintendo announced a sequel to their popular console. There has been a lot of discussion ever since the Switch 2 was announced, with very mixed feelings on the updates, price, and other features that were advertised in their direct. For starters, the Switch 2 comes with a 7.9-inch high-definition LCD display that supports HDR and is up to 120 frames per second. This is a vast improvement from the 6.2-inch LCD screen on the Switch 1, as it is able to handle more detailed games. The Switch 2 is also capable of 1080p and can handle all of this tech while still being the same thickness of the original Switch. Nintendo has improved the Joy-Cons as well, as the Switch 2 now has powerful magnets that snap into the screen without feeling flimsy. You can release the Joy-Cons the exact same way as you do on the Switch 1 by hitting the release button on the back. The new Joy-Cons also have larger buttons and sticks for a more comfortable feel, better control, and reduced sound. When the Switch 2 is in tabletop mode, you can use the Joy-Cons the same way you use a mouse on a computer. A very new feature and accessory that Nintendo has announced is Game Chat. This new system allows you and your friends who have the Switch 2 to talk with each other in-game, as well as show your expressions as long as you all have the camera attachment. This isn't solely for when you are playing games together, as you are able to use Game Chat to watch your friends play other games when you want to put your controller down. These upgrades that Nintendo has made has also allowed the Switch 2 to handle bigger games. Though we know and love Nintendo for franchises such as Mario, Donkey Kong, and Legend of Zelda, there are many third-party games that were announced to be coming to the Switch 2. This includes, but not limited to, Elden Ring, Monster Hunter Wilds, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Borderlands 4, Hogwarts Legacy, NBA 2K, Street Fighter 6, and even Cyberpunk 2077. Though there are some major improvements that we can see for the Switch 2, Nintendo has been receiving backlash in relation to their pricing model. The Switch 2 is priced at $450, and if players buy the bundle with Mario Kart World, it will be priced at $500. Without the bundle, the new Mario Kart is $80. Other accessories such as the Joy-Cons are $90, Pro Controller is $85, Game Chat Camera is $55, and a micro SD card is $60. This has fans outraged as Nintendo is setting a bad precedent in gaming as other companies will start to raise their prices on games and consoles, making it harder for players to actually get them. With the release date of June 5th, pre-orders for the Switch 2 sold out at places like Target, Walmart, and Best Buy in under an hour. Similar to the PlayStation 5, resellers are selling their pre-orders for upwards of $700. With Nintendo being notorious for not dropping their prices and the mixed feelings people have towards this console, only time will tell if the Switch 2 becomes as successful as its predecessor. This concludes Game On with Noel Tremio from GovState News.
Driven out to right center field and deep. There it goes. See ya. His 500th extra base hit. His 5th home run.
March 27th was opening day for Major League Baseball as the New York Yankees took on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Yankees brought many eyes to this game as they debuted a change in equipment by ditching their old bats in favor for a new set called the Torpedo Bat. This bat is a lot thicker than the standard bat and not only brought intrigue to the game, but also questions on whether these bats were legal to use. With a traditional baseball bat, most of the weight is positioned at the end of it. The torpedo bat takes that weight and transfers it more towards the center for a more forceful hit. Tater Baseball, a small family business operating out of Cheshire, Connecticut, created a torpedo-like bat in 2015. It was originally designed for slow-pitch softball players who wanted a bigger barrel so that their hits would be more consistent. Even with this, it didn't hit mainstream due to it being designed only for softball. This wasn't until Aaron Lanehart, field coordinator for the Miami Marlins, took his swing at designing the torpedo bats that are being used currently. Aaron earned his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan and his doctorate in physics from MIT. After serving as a physics professor from 2007 to 2014, he began his baseball career as an assistant coach in the minor leagues in 2017. He was then hired by the Yankees in 2018 as a hitting coach. Between 2022 and 2023, players and coaches asked Aaron to help design a new kind of bat that could help them with better performance. Aaron started designing and innovating over time until he finally created the torpedo bat. The MLB deemed these bats legal as they follow the rules of being made of one solid piece of wood, no longer than 42 inches, smooth and round, and the barrel is no wider than 2.61 inches in diameter. The Yankees started off this season 3-0, beating the Brewers all 3 times with one blowout game with a score of 20-9. They then played the Arizona Diamondbacks in a 3-game series where they lost the first 2 games and won the last one with a score of 9-7. They have since beaten the Pittsburgh Pirates 2 out of 3 times and the Detroit Tigers 1 out of 3 times and currently have a record of 7-5. Demand for torpedo bats have spiked since being used in game, and teams from Major League Baseball and the Korean Baseball Organization have been reaching out to Tater Baseball to place their orders. This has now also extended to traveling baseball players as well as high school and college level athletes.
Lot of text messages from a lot of old colleagues. They're really excited about it. I think they're mesmerized about how the world of data analytics, physics, math, etc. can have such a positive impact on the game of baseball.
This concludes our story with Noel Tremio from GovState News.
It's Curry off the screen, fakes, fires.
The NBA regular season has come to its conclusion with teams gearing up to make their run in the playoffs. Though some teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers have secured their spots weeks ago, there are a few other teams that are still pushing to have a chance to make a postseason run. This is where the NBA play-in tournament comes in, a tournament for the teams in 7th to 10th place to fight for a spot in the playoffs. Teams in 7th and 8th place face off, where the winner advances and the loser has to play one more play-in game, while the teams in 9th and 10th place face off where the loser is eliminated and the winner has to play one more play-in game. The winner in those games will be the solidified 7th and 8th seed and will have their chance to compete for the NBA championship. Starting in the East, we see the Orlando Magic face off against the Atlanta Hawks. These teams have faced each other 4 times this season, with an even split of 2 wins and 2 losses. The Magic held the lead each quarter, with the final score being 120-95, with Cole Anthony scoring 26 points. The Magic will face the 2nd seed Boston Celtics in the first round of the playoffs, and the Hawks will have one more opportunity to play for the 8th seed. Sticking with the East, we have the Chicago Bulls facing off against the Miami Heat. They have faced off 3 times this season, with the Bulls winning all 3 games. Losing all 3 games didn't stop the Heat from giving it their all, as they defeated the Bulls 109-90, with Tyler Hero scoring 38 points. The Bulls were eliminated, and the Heat will play the Hawks for the 8th seed in the playoffs. Moving over to the Western Conference, we take a look at the Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. These teams have faced each other 4 times, with the Warriors winning 3 of those times. This was a close game, with the Grizzlies staying within 3 points going into the 4th quarter, but a combined total of 75 points between Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler sealed the win in their spot in the playoffs with a score of 121-116. The Grizzlies move to the next round as the Warriors will face the 2nd seed Houston Rockets. Our final game within the first round of the play-in tournament is the Dallas Mavericks versus the Sacramento Kings. The Mavericks haven't won a single game against the Kings this season, but with a 44-19 run in the 2nd quarter, Dallas wins with the score of 120-106. The Kings have been eliminated and the Mavericks move on to the next round. Back in the East, we have our final game between the Heat and the Hawks. Both teams are even when it comes to wins and losses out of the 4 games they've played against each other, with this final matchup going into overtime. As back and forth as this game was, another 30-point game from Tyler Hero clinched the victory for the Heat with a score of 123-114. The Heat will face the 1st seed Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. For the final play-in game, we watched the Mavericks take on the Grizzlies. The Mavericks have only beaten the Grizzlies 1 time out of the 4 games they've played this season, a losing streak that Dallas hopes to break. Though Anthony Davis put up 40 points within the 37 minutes he played, it wasn't enough for them to clinch that final spot as the Grizzlies defeat them 120-106. Memphis will face the 1st seed Oklahoma City Thunder in the playoffs. This concludes our story with Noel Tremiel from GovState News.